Welcome, everybody. We're here today on this event to talk about what's new in ITOM visibility, Cloud Accelerate, and AI Ops for the Zurich and Q3 2025 store release. Um, just wanted to let you know that you can see the schedule of our Live on ServiceNow interactive series by scanning this QR code. And you can see future events that we'll put on where we talk about latest and greatest features and deep dives into existing features with experts from the ITOM BU. Just a few housekeeping things. We have enabled the Q&A, so if you have any questions about the Q&A, the features that you see today, please post your questions out to the Q&A, and we'll get those answered as quickly as possible. This presentation is being recorded and will be shared following the event. And after the event, you'll be prompted for a survey. So if you could please provide us feedback, we very much appreciate it. So quick introductions. My name's Derek Kitzelman. I'm an outbound product manager for the ITOM BU, and I've got my friend John. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm Gian Mario De Luigi. I'm part of this amazing team together with Derek, and we're super excited to showcase our latest innovations today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Just safe harbor, we're not planning on discussing any forward-looking statements, but if something does come up, just let you know that, any type of forward-looking statements are, based off of plans and plans change. So please don't make any investment or purchasing decisions off of any forward-looking statements. All right, quick agenda. We're going to talk about what's new with ITOM visibility. Then we'll transition into talking about what's new about ITOM Cloud Accelerate. And then we'll close it up with what's new with ITOM's AI Ops Leap. All right, let's start with visibility real quick. Just quick overview of recent releases. Quite a lot of innovation. The ITOM visibility solution set has evolved quite a bit. We've added a lot of value to the platform. And today we're going to jump into what's new with Zurich. So real quick, just an overview of the major features. I'm not going to drain this slide, but just a quick summary of what we're going to talk about. We've got supporting slides for this, so we'll dive into these in a little bit more detail. But what we don't have additional slides on are some of the other enhancements that we've released in the Q3 store release in Zurich. So one of the things that we've provided now is support in Agent Client Collector for visibility for file-based discovery for Mac OS. So we released file-based discovery back in Q1, initially supporting Windows and Linux. Now we have expanded that support for Mac OS. Another enhancement that, and I will show this when I get into the tag-based service mapping demo, is we have out-of-the-box tag categorizations. So we have, I believe there are 8 new tag categories that come with the tag governance. So now you can create policies with that. And then we have auto matching logic using regex to actually, for those discovered tags, automatically associate those to those existing tag categories. We've got about 30 new Azure resource patterns that we're releasing. Just to let you know that those new cloud Azure patterns, they do come inactive. So if you want to enable those, you just need to go into each one of those patterns and set it to enabled. And then it's a good idea to sync it with the mid server. We also have support for GCP Alloy DB for Postgres, and then the memory store for Redis DB cluster, right? So really just looking to help build out a more complete CMDB with releasing those new patterns. We've made some improvements in noise reduction on Service Mapping Plus. The feedback is, it's very noisy. So we've really helped kind of get to value quicker with service mapping plus and being able to leverage ML-based service mapping by filtering out non-relevant processes, right? And then also filtering out processes for some installed agents, that may, they monitor infrastructure in the agent or in a service map, but don't really provide additional support, right? So more monitoring APM observability type agents, we filter those out. And then additional noise reduction is filtering out non-operational and retired CIs. And then we've improved some of the data maintenance and filtering in the Kubernetes visibility agent. So we've included a CI deletion strategy for the namespace CI. And then we supported the OR logical operator on config map for when you're deploying that to improve CI filtering. So you're not bringing everything out. You can use that OR statement to filter some of those CIs with Kubernetes visibility agent. And then quite a few new things from a mid server perspective. The things that I discussed in the previous slides, most of those are related to the store release, but mid server is tied to a family release. So this is actually a Zurich. These are improvements in Zurich, right? So Microsoft is deprecating NTLM for Windows 25. So to continue to be able to execute WMI protocol commands against Windows 2025 servers, we've introduced Kerberos authentication support for the WMI protocol on the mid server. That way you can continue discovering Windows 2025. We've improved and implemented a performance metric framework and data collection in the mid server. So, using the the Open Telemetry SDK to capture metrics like CPU usage, host memory usage, JVM memory usage, a lot of probe throughput metrics that we're now capturing, average mean time to probe execution in the mid, average execution time in the ECC queue from like ready state to process state, queuing time, sender delay, and average mid latency, right? Um, we also have the mid smart cluster workflow management. So improving task allocation using a weighted round robin. So like using dynamic task allocations that, to assign to mid server based off of workload and performance metrics that we're collecting. And then, that calculation of that weighted calculation on queue size, execution time, CPU usage, and buffer time. And then a balanced distribution ensures that there's no overload on the server. And then, we reevaluate that weighted calculation. That way, we have that adaptive adjustment on the weighted calculation, and then, distributing it, you know, based off of that updated and just improved scalability and performance of the mid server, right? Another thing that we've released in the Zurich for mid server is profile management. So now you have the ability to create mid server profiles, and then you can associate configuration. So whether it's supported applications, wrapper settings, things like that, right? So you create that mid server, you define that mid server configuration for that profile. And then as you onboard new mid servers, you can associate mid servers to those existing profiles, and then that mid server automatically inherits the configuration of that mid server profile, right? And then, being able to sync on demand with wrapper settings to those associated mids, and then validating on a regular basis and detecting profile sync issues and then resolving those. So all around, easily managing and onboarding mid servers with those profiles. And then we've supported now added support for the Java remote file for the mid server. This, allows for you know, compression of mid-server log files. So, we generally roll off the mid-server logs at, I believe, 10. So this allows you to maintain more mid-server logs on the mid-server, and, shrinking the size by compressing the format. And then for the grab log capabilities in the actual mid-server record, now you have the ability to view the available files and select just the ones that you want to grab instead of grabbing all of them. So a lot of cool things to improve mid-server performance and also mid-server management. All right. So let's jump into some of the major enhancements that I didn't really cover in the overview slide. So, to help support full OS level discovery, we now support pattern execution via the AWS SSM agent for your AWS cloud discoveries. So this really simplifies the deployment, and reduces the need for OS level credentials and granular connectivity to your VPCs and AWS, and supports full OS level discovery, so you can start supporting more complex use cases around software asset management, vulnerability management, etc. Right? Um, Now, I do want to call out that this does rely on Zurich Patch 1. So to activate it, you need to upgrade your instance to Zurich Patch 1, and then also need to make sure that Cloud Discovery Workspace is on version 1.7.1, and then you need to install or upgrade Discovery and Service Mapping Patterns 1.27.0, and then get the latest version of CMDB CI class models 1.77.1. From a licensing perspective, this is included in your visibility license, so no impact to that. Um, and then just a few things from a technical perspective. It does require that the SSM agent is running on your EC2 instances. And similar to Cloud Discovery, you can either use a named IAM credential, or you can leverage policies and roles that you can use the assume role on the mid server, so you don't have to use IAM policies. Ideally, you want this mid server running inside of AWS to be able to leverage the assume role, right? And then there's a new capability on the mid server that needs to be enabled. It's just the AWS SSM capability for the mid server or mid server cluster. And then from a system properties perspective, you do need to enable a couple properties. So this first property, glide discovery enable underscore SSM, is for Linux, and then glide discovery SSM enable Windows is for discovering Windows running on EC2. And then from really a demo perspective, there's not much that's changed, and I just brought it to this part of configuring a cloud discovery schedule for AWS, and just showing that if you did you had the ability prior to discover virtual machines via horizontal discovery, and now you have an additional you can enable the AWS SSM pattern execution by enabling this right here. And then what you want to do is either select a mid-server cluster or a specific mid-server that has that new capability. Okay. All right. So next, what we want to discuss is Acme integration for EJBCA. So Acme is the automated certificate management engine or environment. It's a protocol that runs on servers within your environment, and that facilitates integrating with different CA signers. So we've included EJBCA support because it is the second largest private CA after Microsoft CA, and customers have asked us to support certificate management, inventory management for EJBCA, right? So we already had the ability to discover those certificates, but we didn't have automated routing policies. So now with this store release of certificate inventory management, we now support integrating with EJBCA through the Acme protocol. So to activate it, really, it's just getting the latest version. So certificate inventory and management 3.8.2. It is included in your ITOM licensing, so no additional licensing impact. And then, from a technical perspective, so the integration requires certificate credentials for EJBCA server. So you'll need to create a credential and a certificate alias. Then you'll need to know what the certificate authority URL is and add that. And then from a routing policy perspective, we support with or without external account boundings. And then, just want to add, the certificate inventory and management to the mid server that's going to be integrating with Acme. And really, from a demo perspective here, if I come in here to certificate inventory management workspace, I just kind of opened up one of the items. I'm not going to go through a request process and show you, but here's a new certificate request that I submitted using the out-of-the-box catalogs for automated new certificates. And basically what you can see here is we triggered an automated flow for a new certificate request, right? And we did the DNS challenge. That was resolved. So we sent the request over to the Acme server, which is integrated with EJBCA. So we sent over the CSR. Then that request was signed. That certificate request was signed. We picked up the CSR, or sorry, the signed certificate and the root and the intermediate, and stored that in the CMDB. See that it's been stored, and then we automatically generated a change task for that. And, other things that, you can see here is, now we've got, the certificates set up for EJBCA Acme integration. So here's where that URL is put in. And then we've got additional routing policies, right? So, with external account boundings and without, and then also an internal. So if we just jump into one here, you can see we got the credential alias. You identify whether it's internal, external, add all those information, and then for being able to automatically pick up the account request, you can add the subject common name, alternative, and any of the information here, either an asterisk to pick up anything, or you can tie it down and then also identify that mid server. All right, so let's move on to the next major feature. So we now support certificate discovery for the agent client collector. So this was a gap that we had with agent client collector. We were able to discover CIs, server CIs, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, but we weren't able to discover certificates running on those endpoints where the primary discovery was agent client collector. So now we have that support. And really this allows for discovering those certificates on there. And if we think about it, I'm not going to jump into a demo, but there's a new policy that's been added here, and it has a check to go out and discover those. So how do you activate it, right? It's just get the latest version of Agent Client Collector for visibility content on the store. If you don't have it, just you register on the store, and then you can either install it or upgrade it, right? And then what will also be upgraded is Agent Client Framework to 5.0. And then you want to make sure that you get the latest version of certificate inventory and management, right? And then from a licensing implication, it's already included in your ITOM visibility license here. Um, now, you will want to enable that new TLS SSL certificate capture policy, right? And then if you're not discovering certificates already, you got to make sure that the TLS SSL cert port probe is enabled, and then review and update services on that port probe. So out of the box, we have services already identified. You just want to make sure that if you haven't already enabled it, that you do configure those services. And then uh, based off of the services that, or basically the ports that you've identified in the port probe, there is a TLS discovery cert or config.json file that it gets deployed with the agent, and basically whatever services, i.e. ports you've got identified in the port probe, that will be inherited by agent client collector, and it will discover certs hanging off those ports. So pretty straightforward there, but just expanded capabilities with agent client collector. Next thing I want to talk about is tag-based service mapping. So prior to the Q3 2025 release, you did service mapping for tag-based service mapping in the left nav. So what we've done is we've migrated that over to tag-based service, the service mapping workspace that's part of the Service Mapping Plus application, and we're using some matching logic on those discovered tags to tie to those existing categories that come with the tag governance application. So how do you activate it? Just get the latest version of Service Mapping Plus 1.6.3. From a licensing implication, this is included with your visibility license, so no additional licensing. And just from a technical perspective, really, we've got support for N-2 on that. So what does it look like, right? If we come in here and we go to the Service Mapping Plus workspace, you can see here, now we've got an overview page, so you can come in and look at how many tag-based service maps you have, how many families with categories, and then how many tag categories. And, with those out-of-the-box tag categories, right, we got application ID, assignment group, cost center, environment, owner. So you can come in here and you'll see that if there was any keys, let me get back to another one here. Let's go here to categories. I think environment is, we've got some here. So here we automatically matched on the environment key that was discovered. So it's being associated there. And then, we can come in here and see the different tag, service maps, hop into there, all in the service mapping workspace. All right. Next thing I wanted to talk about is um, service mapping in Kubernetes, right? So we've had the Kubernetes visibility agent that will go out and discover the resources, pods, workloads, nodes, namespaces, etc. for Kubernetes environment, but we didn't have the ability to build business context. So now with the latest release of Kubernetes visibility agent, we actually read, from service mesh that's deployed inside of the environment. Or we also have now, if you don't have a service mesh deployed, we have a ServiceNow daemon that will go out and understand, the interconnectivity between workloads that are running in a Kubernetes cluster, right? So how do you activate it? You get the latest version of Kubernetes Visibility Agent in your instance, so 3.11.0, and then deploy the updated Informer via either Helm chart, the Helm chart or Kubernetes YAML file, right? And this is available on the support portal. From a licensing implication, this is included with your ITOM visibility license. And then just some technical on how to deploy it if you're using Istio. You just choose that. Oops, sorry. Your deployment method when you're deploying that. And then there's some things that you'll need to uncomment out in the YAML or the Helm chart to be able to do that deploy. And then once you've actually redeployed it or deployed it out to a Kubernetes service, now you'll have the ability to actually create a map after that has been discovered. So let's look in here in my instance. Here is, a Kubernetes cluster that's been discovered. So we've got all of those here, and now you can see you can create a service map directly from this. But you probably want to jump into one of the services, right? And from that service, then you can actually create the map. I already have a map created, so let's go ahead and look at that. Here, let's go here. Back here, I'm getting into Service Mapping Plus here. So if I click on this and view that map, now I can see how the different workloads services are communicating between one another, right? So the ability to build that business context within, the microservices or workloads that are running inside of a Kubernetes cluster. So this is actually a live, let's say, call it service that's running inside, and you can see how the different things that are communicated, the different workloads are communicating with one another. And in this particular instance, I use the Istio service mesh. But yeah, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to John to close us out.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Here we go. So, we have seen many different innovations when it comes to ITOM visibility, and we have seen also some innovations in the cloud, especially in the latest releases. And one of the constant questions that we have received from many of you has been, how do we simplify the estimation of the licensable cloud resource count? And that's exactly why we released first in Innovation Lab and then on the final GA release, the new Cloud License Estimator tool. That's a very simple app they can install, and it basically gets plugged into your, let's say, AWS account, or it supports both AWS and Azure type of accounts, and it establishes essentially how many licensable cloud resources you have in each of those environments, and even those that are not licensable. So it gives you a full-on estimation, and that's valid for ITOM licensing and also ITOM Cloud Cost Management licenses as well, so that you can very easily assess what you will be essentially paying for. Now, when it comes to the activation, it's very easy. You can download the ITOM Cloud License Estimator Store app. You don't have any particular licensing implications. And now I'm going to switch my screen to show you a quick demo of how it actually works. So this is how the Cloud License Estimator dashboard would look like. We have created already a test configuration for you, but essentially the first thing you will need to do will be to, of course, make sure they have the right credentials to access your accounts. Then you can create new configurations, as I said, for either AWS or Azure. And you can, in this case, for AWS, choose between credential-based or role-based configurations. You can, of course, easily identify your credentials, whether you have a management account or not, or you can do even a role-based type of configuration. And in that very specific case, you will need to also access the AWS Accessor account configuration, which is a separate dashboard where you can essentially insert your member accounts, etc., to do for that very same purpose. And then when it comes to Azure, you also have the option to select whether that's a management, in this case, management group. You can select the different credentials that are being already preloaded. So it's quite straightforward, I would say. As a matter of fact, we already have a configuration in this case that is credential based, that has been already uploaded. And all it takes is after you save your configurations, you can run the license estimator. What this is going to do is it will essentially connect to your account, and it will essentially get to this sort of granularity when it comes to a reporting tool. So you have a very concise view of the licensable resource count, both for ITOM, cloud cost management, and ITOM, different resource types. You will see in green the ones that are licensable, and you will see, of course, the ratio, count per SU, and license count, etc. So you have full-on transparency on what's happening in this case. We can see that there's first the connection check and then the resource count. And here you will see in a very nice manner what kind of application are those resources counting towards, and whether they are licensable or not, different logs and scan status. So it's gonna finish soon, and this is the sort of report you'll have. So quite of a straightforward tool, and of course, very, very useful. So let me just share my screen once again, because there's more for today. We have other two different sections. The next section is about Cloud Accelerate. We talked about cloud now, and we know how important your cloud deployments are. We have released tons of innovations around the cloud, as you can see from the value evolution slide. But essentially today we're going to focus not only on cloud license estimator, as we just mentioned, but also on specifically cloud account management within cloud workspace enhancements. Specifically, why cloud account management is always very important. We know that many of you are either in highly regulated industries or perhaps specifically even in the banking and financial industries, which means you'll either way need to have some sort of compliance to different cloud specific standards or standards that also apply to the cloud. Could be MRAs, could be Sarbanes-Oxley, could be industry-specific standards such as DORA, PCI, etc. But either way, these different regulations always come down to having a clear cloud inventory, knowing exactly the resource distribution per account, having a clear understanding of the ownership of those resources and of those accounts. That's really paramount. And at the same time, many of you always ask for a clear service context of all those resources and accounts, and also cost controls to keep those costs down. And that's exactly what we do with Cloud Account Management in Cloud Workspace. We provide you with a comprehensive overview from an inventory point of view of all of your accounts, whether they are, of course, accounts, subscriptions, projects that you have discovered, and we provide you with full insights about those accounts. We allow you to essentially just make sure that you have compliance internally when it comes to provisioning new accounts, because they will be compliant with all these requirements and regulatory compliance policies, but also will allow you to essentially establish new guidelines internally that won't be always leveraged. Now, specifically, what's new in cloud account management? First of all, we have a compliance dashboard that you can see here. And the compliance dashboard is really important to understand what's happening to your cloud accounts. What's your trend in terms of account creation? How many accounts are actually missing owners? And what is your total number of accounts, subscriptions, etc., based on the different cloud providers, so you know exactly what's happening to them, so you can track your cloud account posture and insights. We also have a Cloud Asset Explorer, because now that you know exactly how many accounts you have in your different cloud providers, we also tell you how many resources you'll have within those cloud providers as well. And for each resource, we'll categorize them and give you a comprehensive amount of insights. And then we're also introducing the Cloud Account Request Catalog customization, which means that now any employee can directly request for new accounts directly from the Employee Center UI. And of course, they will be able to potentially be already helped in selecting exactly what needs to be inserted in all these forms, because these catalogs are customizable so that you can ensure that essentially compliance is always enforced in each request for a new account. Why we introduced it, it's quite clear. You need to be on either Xanadu patch 8 or Yokohama patch 3 or Zurich releases. You need to download the Cloud Workspace Store app. And for licensing implications, you should have both the ITOM Cloud Accelerator entitlements and the Cloud Governance Suite SKU, which is giving you the entitlement to the new Cloud Workspace. For Cloud Accelerate SKU, you either need to have Visibility plus Cloud Accelerate SKU or having directly AOps Enterprise SKU. Now, with no further saying, I'm so excited to show you how cloud account management looks like. So we talked about the compliance dashboard and already showed you the principle of having a cloud asset overview with all the different categories. In this case, it's very easy to, as an example, go to all your virtual machines. You have the selection of all these different cloud resource categories. You can filter out based on the specific providers, region, owner, etc., etc. And then for each resource, you'll have all the necessary, all the relevant insights essentially, so that you can really understand what's going on with these resources with different, of course, a summary of what you know about it, relationships, tags, anything that is relevant for that resource. And then on top of that, of course, you still have a comprehensive initial view. This is from Cloud Workspace with what needs attention, your cloud versus on-prem assets, cloud accounts by provider, and specifically quick links on what needs to be done. And then, of course, you also have the cloud accounts overview, where you can essentially decide on, okay, what needs the most attention, which accounts have maybe the configuration violations. You can also have all the relevant insights in terms of spending or cloud organization, either if you have a business application or cost center that you decide to assign to each one of these. And as we said, configuration misconfigurations potentially due to one of them. But how do you get to this view? How do you actually get to provision cloud accounts? Well, right now it's very easy because the employees can easily access the employee center, those ones that at least are authorized to request for new cloud accounts. And then they will have a standardized catalog that can be customized, which means if you specifically for your company would like to have specific new fields to be added to this request catalog, or you would like them to be pre-populated with some specific parameters, or you would like to block some of these parameters or even limit some of them, it's absolutely possible because we are essentially allowing you to finally enforce tagging standards, policy standards, or even the relevant values, which are essentially policies that you want to make sure they are widely adopted internally. We can help you with AWS and Azure accounts. And once the order is placed, it will absolutely be treated as the previous request. So you can have either pending approval or all the different requests that are being submitted, and you can decide what level of automation you want to have. You want to have policies that are governing those requests. That's absolutely fine because that's, as you perhaps recall from the previous releases, we already offer out-of-the-box policies that essentially are decisional points across the approval workflows. In this case, you can see the actual policy version that is saying any request that is exceeding the budget of or I would say staying within the 500 budget is automatically approved. Anything that is between 500 and 5,000 requires approval, and anything above that is non-compliant, so it will be automatically failed. Now, this is just a simple workflow, but there can be many, many policies that you can create and they can govern your provisioning of different accounts. So yes, that's why cloud account management is here to essentially help you enforce more compliance and more automation across your different cloud deployments. Okay, that was it for cloud account management demo. Just keep in mind that if you want to adopt cloud account management, it's very easy with a crawl, walk, run approach. We always recommend you to start from an inventory, insight, and ownership definition perspective because we offer, of course, ownership propagation from an account to the different cloud resources. That's very important. Once that's done, we recommend you to manage those accounts with either suspension and reactivation. So doing lifecycle management or even auditing those accounts against your internal policies. And then run is when you get to that automation of provisioning workflows and the provisioning automation. We have really thought of the whole life cycle to make sure that we can meet your needs at whatever maturity stage you're at. Now, let's switch gears and let's talk about the hottest new feature of potentially the last quarters, which is AI Sleep. And of course, I'm just kidding. Every new feature is absolutely very important, but many of you have been extremely interested in AI Sleep. So, what is AI Sleep? It's essentially a new plug and play tool that is really helping you automate uh, in when it comes to IT operations, incident resolution. We help you automate the incident resolution by leveraging your past closed incident data, your knowledge base articles, and of course, we have the power of Gen AI that is essentially allowing you to have a well-defined grouping of incidents and potential resolution steps until you get all the way up to the resolution playbooks. But let's see how there is something new to this solution. Well, we have just released the possibility to do third-party LLM support with the ones that you can see here. And that means that you don't necessarily need to rely on the Now LLM service, but also on either AWS Cloud, Azure OpenAI, or even Google Gemini. If you want to know more, you can absolutely go to our community dedicated article to see, okay, what are the different advantages of leveraging different LLMs? But the key value here is that essentially AI Sleep is really helping you to switch gears from a visibility sort of maturity level towards a more predictive and autonomous IT operations. This because it just plugs into the data that you already have and helps you find automations so that you don't need to necessarily do manual work anymore to automate incident resolution. So that's the core business value of Leap. Now, you can activate it with Now Assist for ITOM Store app, and it requires Yokohama Patch 6 or Zurich release. When it comes to licensing, you need to have entitlement for of course, Now Assist for item that comes, you can talk to your teams about it. And to generate leaps, which means automation playbooks, you should also have creator workflows. That's optional. So you can decide, of course, what kind of maturity you want with the product. And essentially, I want to show you how the actual product works in terms of the value. We said we discover the IT operations automation opportunities. There's the generation of resolution steps that is Gen AI driven. And then if you want to do more, you can create playbooks and calculate your return on investments with savings insights. Now, in terms of how it works, That's the interesting part. So we collect again, we start from the closed IT operations incidents, and we do ML-based clustering on them to generate groupings of those incidents that are basically automation opportunities. They will have automation prioritization to understand what's more relevant, and also savings estimations to also help you prioritize. Then you have Now Assist, that is, or Gen AI, I would say our Gen AI that is working on your work and resolution notes and all the KB articles in your instance to generate relevant resolution steps for that grouping of incidents. And they are customizable, of course, but they can also serve in order for you to proceed with proactive problem management by creating a problem record. Now, this is exactly everything that you have within the Leap per se entitlement. But if you want to go beyond that, you can absolutely do that with the help of Creator Workflows, with the help of Playbook Assist, which means you can take those resolution steps and then leverage that technology of Playbook Assist to create the automation playbooks. That's what we mean by LEAP. It means Learning Enhanced Automation Playbooks. Now, the automation playbooks will be essentially the blueprint of how a published playbook will be. So you just need to refine that playbook based on your needs. And once it's published, we have an integration with the service operations workspace so that you can automatically resolve incidents from that UI. And you also have a return on investment dashboard. I'm going to show you in a demo what all this looks like. This is first of all the UI that you will see when you open AOps Leap in terms of workspace, because this is a dedicated workspace, of course. We showcase, first of all, what needs to be automated in terms of priorities for automation opportunities. What are the potential overall savings that are deriving from these automation opportunities, both from a monetary and time savings. And then we showcase all the different automation opportunities, which keep in mind are meaningful groupings of past closed incidents. And you can see here you have different status, of course, for each one of them. So we'll just pick one of them as an example. In this case, just so you see how they will essentially look like. This is an Oracle database, high CPU usage issues, automation opportunity that has many related records. Here you have all the list of different related records. You see the priority in this case that is established as high. You can see the different savings, the record count, and more. Essentially, the first step that you will do, this is exactly what you will have when you install Leap. You need to generate resolution steps. The generation of resolution steps, keep in mind, is looking at all the nodes, work and resolution nodes for each one of these incidents that are listed here, and all the knowledge base articles that are essentially that are part of this instance. This means that you see in a few seconds, you'll have the generation of these resolution steps that you can, of course, edit at any time. And you can also leverage to create a problem record, which means you will take this input to proceed and create a problem record. And that's when you can basically leverage the create a playbook option. Now, I'm not saying that you need to absolutely create a playbook. Keep in mind, you could potentially decide to leverage all these steps and let's say go to Flow Designer and create your own playbook or do whatever sort of automations you would like to do with these steps. But the value here is that with one click, and that's when the Playbook Assist technology helps you really, you can have a full-on framework of how an automation playbook will look like with all the different steps that have been identified so you can proceed and save and edit the playbook so you can edit it from a Flow Designer UI perspective. You can, of course, even see the board view, so you can add, change each subflow, etc. that you see in here. So you have the full power of really establishing what you want to do with these playbooks. In this case, we already have some pre-generated, for the purpose of this demo, some generated playbooks already that are available in the published playbook section. So once we basically decide to finalize this essential playbook and we resolve all the potential issues that we may have with it, and we proceed to test it and then activate it, this is exactly what you will obtain. So a description of exactly what are your total savings, tickets resolved, time savings, and also overall rating. You have the list of tickets that have been resolved, the reviews, etc. So you have a full-on insight on what's happening. You can, of course, at any time check that very specific workflow to see if you want to add anything to it. And the coolest thing is that now that it's activated, we can create a new incident. Let's say that we have Zoom polling issues that is not necessarily the same title, of course, as this playbook, because of course we have an engine here that can essentially establish what's going on with that. And we can just copy paste into description and title to have the same, just for the purpose of this demo to really see how when we create a new incident, how Leap essentially helps the operator. And that's exactly what happens here because we have a new Leap dedicated section that is automatically identifying the potential playbooks that are available to solve that very same incident right here. And the operator can either manually trigger that Leap right there. So with just one click, they will trigger the overall workflow and essentially proceed to automatically resolve those incidents. That is where the real value of Leap stands. You essentially have a plug and play solution that you automatically have to decide what you need to automate. You create your automated playbooks, and then you can immediately really measure what the results are. So, how many hours am I saving in terms of agent hours, total savings, total playbooks that you have created? Everything that from an automation playbook standpoint is really providing value to you. And of course, you can also edit this UI in terms of UI builder. So you plug the solution in, analyze your past data, create resolution steps, and potentially create playbooks and measure return on investment. That's how, with very simple steps, we help you get to a different maturity level when it comes to really understanding your automation potential. That was a demo of AOP Sleep. And Derek, are there any last minute questions before we wrap this up?
I'm running down the AWS Outpost consideration for AWS SSM8 pattern execution. Um, I don't have an answer yet, but we'll get John posted a blog post out on the community. I will work with the creator of that blog post to get it updated to add details around AWS Outpost support. There is another question here on LLM. If we have IBM Granite model, is it supported or planned in the future? I'm not sure if you know that.
Yeah, that's we cannot share necessarily our plans for future releases in these sessions, so it's not available as of now. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Okay. That was it. The other questions were answered.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Derek, and thanks everyone for the great interactions that I saw in over time via the Q&A box. If you have any other questions before we wrap this up, please put them in. In the meantime, I will all invite you to really scan these QR codes right here. We want to make sure you leverage the opportunity to know more about ServiceNow Impact that is helping you maximize really the power of our platform and of our solutions. It's a great initiative and a great opportunity for you to really find and maximize the power really of the ServiceNow AI platform. When it comes to the training and certification, we have ServiceNow University out there for you. There are great materials. We keep releasing, even from our side, many different training opportunities for you so that you can get more proficient, even with AOps Sleep, cloud account management. You'll definitely find some training in there. So we highly encourage you to visit the ServiceNow University. And the expert services community is also a really important pin for you to really have ready. If you want to join if you want to leverage the help from ServiceNow and partners, so please make sure that you check it out. I would like to thank you, Derek, for another outstanding presentation. Thank you all for having attended this session. We really appreciate your great participation as usual. We are very excited about the new releases, and keep in mind there's going to be way more coming soon as we speed our innovation pace. I would really highly encourage you to really take the survey after this presentation ends and to really keep in touch with us with the Live on ServiceNow ITOM Academy. That's something that we are running on a monthly basis, and that's something for you to really learn more about our products. Thank you once again for the great participation, and we are looking forward to see you soon.